It's just Jersey, man. We're a different breed. Place. Who doesn't want to win in Jersey?
And the Scarlet Knights did not have a national champion before tonight, and it's RU times 2.
What's going on, everybody? Breakdown from the Barn is back, episode 15. With me is the greatest mind in wrestling, Eric Winnuck. Good week happening. You know, holidays are over. Rutgers went to the Matmen Classic, saving the day for the fans. We're going to get into that. How's it going, Eric? How you making out?
Going good. I'm rocking the new RU hat. My son got me for Christmas. He said the old red one was getting a little worn for wear, so I'm going with the new hat. But everything's going well. Nice,
man. Nice. I like the new hat. Switch it up a little bit. So, we got a tournament. Midlands got canceled. Everyone was like, "Oh man, we're not going to have wrestling." And give it up to this Illinois Matmen. They got it done. They got a tournament in place in a matter of a week, and a lot of the teams from Midlands went. So it was a decent tournament. Wasn't the hammer tournament that Midlands used to be, but definitely got some good competition in there. I mean, what were your thoughts about Rutgers' performance?
No, and even before I get in Rutgers' performance, I just think for the wrestling community to come up, Matt Scouts and Journeyman Wrestling did a great job of using the irony about this, John, is same venue, same dates and times. The only difference is Northwestern with that, those famous last words out of an abundance of caution, decided to pull out. But for me, in the past, we would have been afraid that the dominoes would have fell and other things would be canceled. But obviously the community steps up, puts this in a very short period of time. There were some rumblings that maybe the quality of the video wasn't the best. It was hard to track the tournament, maybe some outdated technology. But in my view, the fact that these guys put this together in 1 week, kept the bulks of the teams in place, to me was a testament. It was a great thing. So it was exciting to see it.
I'll give the other side of it. I mean, I was able to follow the tournament. Tournament stream was good. They had announcers that, I think all the matches I was watching had commentators, which is big. I thought the production quality was good. There might have been one or two instances where the camera didn't follow where you wanted it to go, but from my enjoyment, it was a good from a spectator standpoint. I was able to watch it at home and root for Rutgers, so I was happy about that.
Can't disagree, John. I think it was to pull this off in such a short period of time, the way they did, I think is, like I said, it's a testament to these guys, testament to wrestling. So real quick, we'll just give a quick rundown in terms of RU performance. To me, John, it was kind of an incomplete performance. Rutgers ended up finishing 5th, 3rd amongst the Big Ten schools. I think they put up 94 points. When we talked about the Midlands preview, we were hoping that they would come out, and maybe have a top 3 finish for Midlands and maybe break their point scoring record they had in 2015. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. And a couple of reasons. One, MVP, Van Brill and Paz didn't wrestle. Paz, I think, was under the weather a little bit. Non-COVID related, he's fully expected to wrestle this week. I haven't gotten final word on Van Brill, but I assume he's going to be a go. But losing 2 of your top guys obviously hurts you from a team perspective. And obviously Kennard, and we can get into a little bit more of this later, but for Robbie Kennard to go 0-2, I think that's, I don't like the trajectory he's going right now in the season. Obviously we're going to be patient and see how it goes. But to me, I think we would have expected a little bit more out of that. And obviously the 2 injuries, Sammy Alvarez goes down in his first match. And obviously Jackson Turley loses his first match. We'll get into that. But again, he must have suffered an injury because his 4th match, he medical default. So we lose 2 of our big guns. 2 didn't show up. And to me, Robbie Kennard had a lackluster performance. And Boone, to me, didn't quite perform the way we would have liked. So to me, from that standpoint, I think it was kind of incomplete. What's your thoughts overall?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, talking about Kennard, we know what he's capable of. He beat the guy who won the tournament. He beat Elijah Cleary last year, and we know this kid got talent, and it's like you said, patience, I think, is the key. He didn't get a full season under his belt yet. Hopefully, we see the flashes of brilliance in the North Carolina match. Austin O'Connor, I mean, he's good, so I think it's figuring out what happened there. I don't know, could have been a little under the weather too or something, or just kind of not having the full speed. But I agree with you. I think it was an incomplete. I think there were signs of brilliance in there, and there were things that, we would have liked to see more of. And obviously you're not going to risk an injury at this stage in the season. So You look at four people, Turley, Alvarez, MVB, and Paz. You're not going to send them out there if they're not 100%. So
absolutely.
I agree with your assessment of the incomplete.
Yeah, let's jump to the good or the great, I should say. And right off the bat, obviously, Sebastian Rivera cruises to he basically either teched, majored, or pinned his way to the finals. Shout out to CJ Composto, John, my guy from Westfield, who had a really nice win against the wrestler from Purdue, a national qualifier.
Yeah.
And he's really starting to get his gas tank going after a couple of injuries. So really proud of CJ from Westfield, but obviously he's not in a position where he can hang with Sebastian Rivera at this point. So to me, Rivera was obviously a bright spot. We expected that. But the big one is Greg Balsack. And Bullseye, to me, you could argue was the outstanding wrestler. Obviously, they gave it to Miles Amin for knocking off Mark Hall. But to me, Mark Hall hasn't wrestled folk style in years. I personally thought Bullseye deserved it because, one, he knocks off the returning national finalist who only lost 4-2 to your boy, AJ Ferrari. But he also had a big win in the semis against Braxton Amos. And for those who don't know Braxton Amos from Wisconsin, he's ranked 26, but this is basically a junior world champion, a 3-time Super 32 champion. This is a blue chip athlete for Wisconsin who, to me, has a very bright future. So to me, to put those two wins back to back, to me, tells me Greg Balsack has arrived. And one other thing I like to point out, John, is Bonacorsi last year majored Jay Aiello from UVA in the national tournament. Balsack lost in the first round, getting majored by Aiello in the national tournament last year. So to me, the trajectory of Balsack, where he's gone since last year to this year, to me is quite impressive. I give a lot of credit to the room, the work he's been doing with John Posnanski. You see more level changes. You see a little bit more aggression. So to me, I think those are the positives on the grade. So before I go forward, because I got a couple others I want to go through, Tony Waite, Oliveri, I think you got to give DeSantis a little bit of a shout out. What are your thoughts in terms of the good of this tournament?
I think Greg Balsack is through the roof. I mean, we've been pretty impressed with him, and we've been talking about him on the show, and he's been wrestling guys that are ranked 18th, ranked 22nd, and just destroying them. And sometimes you see that. Sometimes it's just a style. And you get these guys on the back end of the top 25, and you're able to blow through them just in your style. And then you go up against the big bad wolf, the guys in the top 4, the guys, competing for a national tournament, and you're not quite there. And Greg Balsack showed that he's there. I mean, he just showed that he arrived. He's in the rankings now at number 3. I think that's where he belongs. I think he's somebody right now. After this week, I think there was a big question mark. Is he someone that could compete in this top 10? I think now he showed, hey, and not just having that one win. This guy has 5 ranked wins on the year, and the 4 ranked wins he was very dominant in, and then taking out Bonacorsi, who is an absolute stud. I mean, this guy didn't get lucky and make the national finals. This guy belonged there, and I felt like the full match, Bullseye, I thought he had the takedown. If, that's a weird rule where you could challenge that. If that doesn't get challenged, eventually he was going to get the takedown, right? I mean, you kind of stop when you hear 2. I felt like he didn't get that takedown in that first period, but kept his head on him, kept moving, kept working him. And really just won the match. I think he was a better wrestler yesterday or last week. And I think he's right there to win a national title.
Well, I'll say this, John, he's got his biggest test coming up in a couple of matches. I think Illinois and Wisconsin, we should get wins out of those, out of Bullsack, but he gets Max Dean. Now, in my opinion, Max Dean is the number 1 wrestler in this weight class. I know you're a big AJ Ferrari supporter, but obviously Max Dean was out last year at Cornell, didn't wrestle, transferred to Penn State. So to me, that's really going to see where this guy is if he's truly a national contender. I don't have him as high as you right now. It's a very impressive win, but given where he's at the rankings, I think especially Flo and Intermat, they're going to be probably a little bit more conservative in putting him up. I definitely seen him cracking the top 10, but you got guys like Eric Schultz, Steve Buchanan out of Wyoming, Jacob Warner of Iowa is a tough out. So to me, there's still names on there that I don't necessarily think he's gonna pass up. They didn't do anything to fall. Okay, if anything, you're going to see Bonacorsi go down. But you're absolutely right. I think he's a high probability of pulling off All-American. Those 2 wins are national level wins. I mean, those back-to-back wins are the type of wins you get in the national tournament in the quarterfinals and the semifinals. That's how good those wins were. So to me, he's for real. Whether he's a national contender, obviously you knock off a finalist, that definitely puts you in the conversation. But I do want to see if he can be consistent against that top 10 type of wrestler. And we are going to see it, like I said, against Max Dean coming up. So those are my thoughts there. Real quick, John, if I can just give a couple other names. Anthony
Let's go to
White.
Seabass right now. I want to give my take on
All right,
Seabass.
go Seabass.
I think, this guy, he's not wrestling in the top 5 yet. I mean, this guy's in the toughest weight class in the country, and in my opinion, I think it's the toughest weight class of all time with the top 4 there. But he is just being dominant, man. I think when you're beating ranked guys the way that he's been beating ranked guys this year, I'm going to tell you, man, if he does pull this off and he runs the gauntlet, you got to go Hodge. I mean, I think that if he wins Big Tens in that weight class and wins nationals and continues to lay the hammer down the way he's laying down the hammer, this guy got to win the Hodge Trophy. And if they don't give it to him, that's shame. That's just politics and not giving it to the Rutgers guy. I think he's wrestling like he's on a mission. I think he's wrestling like he's not just here to win and beat these guys and be like, oh, had a good NCAA tournament. I think he's wrestling like he's going to win the Hodge Trophy. I think that's in his mind, and that's what he's trying to do. That's what he came here for. And I think he's just dominant. I'm excited to get in this grind of the Big Ten schedule. I'm excited to start going up against these top 10 guys. But, I mean, you got to feel good about Seabass right now. And, like I said, in my opinion, toughest weight of all time. We talked about that. Everyone talks about that 149-pound class, but this is looking backwards at things these guys done after that year. When you look at what these 3 guys in that weight class ahead of him did in their career, as well as what Seabass did in his career. You're talking about 4 guys with unbelievable performances throughout the past. So, I'm excited about Seabass running forward.
Yeah, and you're talking about 4 senior-level circuit wrestlers, Michik, Ironman, and Nick Lee. And you're right, Sebastian Rivera last year, the loss, I mean, he had a very close loss, and he was right there with Nick Lee. So I agree with you. If he can go through this gauntlet and win the whole thing, I totally agree with you. And the fact that he really smoked this tournament, which is why I didn't spend a lot of time on Seabass. To me, I think it was kind of ho-hum. Let's see Seabass once he starts hitting that top 10 competition, because as you said earlier, okay, it's one thing to beat up on the guys in the lower rankings who are not ranked. It's another thing to hit the top of the heap in the top 15, top 10. So to me, let's see what Seabass does against the better competition, but I agree with you. Let's talk about, John, real quick, Anthony White. And I talked about Anthony White earlier in the year. We gave him a little bit of a spot, and obviously you've talked about him out of South Plainfield. And I don't think he came in with the fanfare like some of our other top recruits have come in. Actually came in very quietly this year, if I might say. Top 4 in the state of New Jersey, which we know New Jersey wrestling is as good as it gets, up there with Ohio, Pennsylvania, Northern California. But to me, the body of work he's putting together as a true freshman, okay, 17-3 already this year, okay, as a redshirt freshman. But what he did in this tournament to go 3-2, his only losses were to Josh Heil of Campbell, 2-0. Okay, this is a ranked guy, and obviously Artelona, we talked about him from UPenn, who's a tough out and has got like 70 career NCAA wins. So those were his only 2 losses, and they were tight losses. Like I said, losing to Josh Heil 2-0 out of Campbell. Okay, the guy who won this tournament that we think is going to make some sort of noise in the national tournament. I'm really excited about Anthony White in the future. I think he's going to slot right into 149 next year. But to me, all the hype we've been giving him has continued to move forward. So what's your thoughts on Anthony White?
No, I agree. I think it's a similar story. Anthony White and Joey Oliveira. I mean, you got to love what you're seeing from them this year. This is why it's a redshirt year for him, right? These guys both lost very tight matches to some very top level competition, and they're beating everybody else. And you're getting the reps in, they're getting the matches in, and they're figuring out what they need to do better, right? They're figuring out what, to make that, close that gap from high school to college. And I believe both of them are gonna use those losses as fuel and as understanding of what tweaks they need to work on for the next call it 12 months until next season comes around. And I think both of them are going to be, you got to feel good about both of these guys coming into the lineup next year and being legitimate All-American contenders, right off the bat. So I really like what I'm seeing from them. Tight matches with the cream of the crop, and winning the matches they need to win. So you gotta, that's what you expect from these freshmen that are in their redshirt year, in a developmental year. That's what you want to see.
To me, the sign of an up-and-comer is if you have a wrestler that if you had to plug them into your lineup, they would be basically a contender to be a national qualifier, okay? Mm-hmm. And I don't want to overstate what they're doing because they haven't necessarily beaten any top competition yet, but to Anthony White and Joey Oliveri, if you put them in the lineup today, I think they have a legitimate shot at making at least some sort of noise at the Big Ten tournament. And the other thing I'll say about Joey Oliveri is, one, he beats Carter Bailey 16-3 out of Lehigh. And that's the match that Sammy Alvarez got injured in. And even before he got injured, for some reason, Bailey was taking it to Sammy early in the match. I'm just going to call it what it is. They got a couple of scrambles. I thought, Sammy was going to get that initial second takedown. And Carter Bailey does a Sammy Alvarez on Sammy Alvarez, funks his way out of it, gets the two. And then Sammy tweaked, I don't know if it was his ankle or his knee, but he goes down. He can never really recover. He gets pinned by Bailey, but to me, that was just his leg gave out. He just kind of flopped back. He probably shouldn't have finished. But for Oliveri to come back and basically tool on this guy, 16-3, okay, had 4 majors in this tournament, John. And again, it wasn't that he knocked off top competition, but to get 4 majors at this point, I think was great. And he takes a loss to Matmen of Michigan, okay, who is the backup there, but it's always good to have a Michigan wrestler. But his loss to Mickey Filippi, I think it was 2-0. He was right there. He just didn't quite have the strength and the endurance to take Filippi out. Filippi controlled most of the match, but Oliveri was right there with him. And we know Filippi is going to be a contender for All-American this year. So to me, these two guys, great job. The only other name I'll say, John, is DeSantis. When he had a nice little run. I think he went 5-2 on the day. One of his only losses was Josh Hale of Campbell. 5-2 is a tough out. So to me, those 3 guys showed me something this weekend.
Yeah, you look at someone like Al DeSantis coming in. I think he took 7th in the state, and second-year freshman. I mean, you got to love what you're seeing from him. You got to love that development. He's definitely a guy that, hey, if you didn't expect him to come in and be someone to make the lineup. If he does down the road make the lineup, you're not too worried about it. The way he's progressing and the way he's developing. I mean, you got to be very happy with his performance. They set him out at 157 against Hofstra. He got the win. He's doing well and really rolling. And then the other one I want to talk about is Connor O'Neill taking 6th. Yeah. Knocked off a ranked guy. He's somebody else that's been improving throughout the year. Got a ranked win. Jackson Turley, we got to figure out that situation. I know he's injured. We know Jackson Turley could, place the Nationals, right? And I think there's, a healthy Jackson Turley and an injured Jackson Turley, right? So we gotta figure out if he's somebody that could get back this year and get on the wagon. But if not, maybe you start thinking about Jackson Turley saying, hey, I'm going to take a medical red shirt and heal up and let Connor O'Neill carry the boat. Hope he gets better. Don't want to, he's young. He's still young. He has a lot of eligibility left. You don't want him to be toughing it up this year and injure himself throughout his career, because Jackson Turley is somebody that has the ability to compete for a national title one day. You got to start thinking about that, but you got to love where Connor O'Neill's right now.
Yeah, the problem with Turley is his health's in question, and I don't know any more than you do, John, at this point. But to me, it's almost as if it's becoming a trend every time this guy gets into a match or a tournament. He doesn't wrestle well, or he doesn't complete. Now, after taking initial loss, he had 2 nice back-to-back wins, got a nice fall, but then medal. So I'm not sure if it was more preventative to not wrestle him. But I agree with you. If he's not 100%, John, there's no reason to risk this guy. I don't know if he needs work to be done or what the case is, but to me, Connor O'Neill had an up-and-down tournament because he lost 2 matches to Manuel Rojas. And for those who don't know Rojas, he's a high school wrestler, and you don't want to see your varsity guys losing to high school wrestlers. But this is a Fargo Super 32 champion. He's committed to Iowa State. He's a true and blue chip wrestler, Manny Rojas. So to me, this wasn't necessarily some fluke loss. The kid can flat out wrestle. I don't like the fact that he took the fall in his second match against Rojas. He was actually up on him when they first started in the first opening bout. Then Rojas took control of the match. And his other losses to Garrett Nienhuis. And you know me, I've talked about Nienhuis last year. I expected more from him at this point in his career. He's been kind of up and down for Purdue in his first year and a half or so. But this was a guy who beat John Poznansky in high school, okay? Nienhuis was one of those guys who was a huge recruiting win for Purdue. He's not quite developing the way you would like. But the bottom line, this is a legitimate NCAA wrestler that O'Neal lost to. He goes ahead and puts together a nice run anyway. He beats Josh Kim, who's ranked, I think, in the top 30 from Harvard, gets a couple of other nice wins. So to me, I actually liked what O'Neal did. Aside from taking those 2 losses, I think he had a good, solid tournament. And if Turley's not 100%, I don't know, John. I think I'd roll the dice and just go with Connor this week at Indiana and just see where it goes.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Other than that, Pitt took home the trophy. Penn had a good showing. Penn took second. Some good performances there. All of those guys wrestled solid. I don't think they had anybody that was a complete standout, but they had Zamp in the finals. They had, third place finish from Artelona. Their guys came up and they performed. So good job by Penn. And Mark Hull coming out of retirement.
Yep.
I think that was a cool thing for wrestling. Hopefully we see more of that. Penn Regional Training Center comes out, didn't get the win against Miles Amin, but it's good to see two national champ versus Olympic bronze medalist, go at it. I thought that was a good thing for the fans. I was excited to watch it, and hopefully you see a little more of that in these open tournaments.
And Ruth's little brother who came out and had a nice tournament as well at 74. So, and he committed this week. So, yeah. Why don't we jump, John, real quick, go over the IU match. That's going to be this Friday. So Rutgers returns to the rack Friday night to wrestle Big Ten, Indiana University. And my initial thoughts, John, you said the same thing when we kind of did a preview before we went on air, is this is a match we should probably take relatively handily. And if you asked me, a month ago, we take 9 out of 10 matches. Yeah. But to me, there's some shaky bouts in this lineup. And even the ones that I think were highly favored could get kind of funny. Yeah. I'm not feeling the greatest about this. If there was a letdown match, it's this Friday, and it's this Indiana team. They don't bring in any All-Americans, but they have several ranked guys. They have a couple of national qualifiers. They have a tough out at 184. Paz is not going to get a cakewalk this Friday. What's your initial thoughts on Indiana?
No, I agree with you. Honestly, before I looked and broke down the lineup, I was thinking cakewalk for Rutgers, right? And even if they have 1 or 2 guys out, this is going to be an 8-win match. Rutgers still has the guns, but when you get into these matches, it's like, oh man, this one could go the other way. This one could go the other way. I kind of have them favored, and I believe I'm looking down here, 7 or 8 matches Rutgers is favored in, with the other 2 being toss-ups. But I like you said, they could go either way. I think I could see a lot of these matchups. They got some tough guys. We'll run through it, right? 25, you got Jacob Moran, ranked number 27. Dylan Shalver, he's good. I can see him winning that match. I can see that match going the other way. I mean, I'd like to see D. Shaw pull that off, but this is going to be within 2 points, probably an overtime match, right? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, well, I don't love the way Shaver wrestled in the Matmen. And listen, his only 2 losses were overtime losses, but to me that was a tournament he was ranked number 1. I think we wanted to see him take that next level in his season and come out with a win there. It wasn't the toughest weight class at the Matman this weekend, but regardless, he's still young. He's going to take a couple of close losses, but I actually have Moran favored in this one. And I think if you asked me at the beginning of the year, I probably would have gone with Shaver. So to me, I think this can go either way. I think it's a lean Indiana, but I think it's a toss-up. Shaver can win this thing by 6 points for all I know. But the only barometer I want to put is Dylan Shaver's first win of the year was against Logan Heil, 6'5", against Cleveland State. Jacob Moran beat him a little bit more handily. I think it was 7-4, but I think he didn't have as much of a tough time. And I think he's 8-1 this year. He's won the Cleveland State Open. So he's got a nice start to the season, Moran. As a two-time state champ in high school. His only loss this year is the national finalist Brandon Courtney of Arizona State. He only lost 9-4. So to me, I think Moran's wrestling really, really well. I kind of got to give this bout to IU right now if I'm going to be fair. But obviously, it could go either way. Shawver showed you what he can do. We've brought it up ad nauseum, the win he had against the Minnesota wrestler last year. But if you ask me, I think I got to give this to Jacob Moran. And 133 is a very similar situation, John, because Hudkins he's 4-1. He didn't wrestle in the last open tournament. I don't know what his situation was, but he's another kind of top 25 flow ranked wrestler. His only loss is to Michael McGee of Arizona State, a top 10 wrestler. And I just don't know who we're sending at 133. If Sammy's out, we're probably going with Dave Campbell. And if we're going with Dave Campbell, the Bucknell transfer, who's only 3-4, I kind of got to give it to IU in this matchup. Mm-hmm. Britton, I think, is on red shirt. I don't think you pull Oliveri's red shirt on this. I don't think you pull Ramos' red shirt. We got a lot of guys at 133 we can plug in. I just don't think it's worth pulling the red shirts.
No, I agree with you. Not worth pulling the red shirts, even if it costs you the match. We got some young talent there. It depends on if Sammy's healthy or not. And Brock Hudkins is going to be a tough out. So if you're talking about Sammy Alvarez, it isn't 100%. That's a tough match for him. I think if Sammy doesn't compete, you go with Indiana. You got the Rooks brothers coming up at 41 and 49, Coiler Rooks, ranked number 18th. I mean, Seabass next topic. It's until we get into these top 5 guys, Seabass, I think he's going to.
This is a major at worst.
Major. He's a man on a mission this year. He's just dominated. Grant Brooks, that's somebody, MVP. It's going to be a tough match for him. I mean, this is going to be a close match. We're going to see, what MVP has. Graham Brooks, you mentioned it. He beat Yaya Thomas last year at the Big Tens. He has some big wins, national qualifier. So, I think MVP brings his A game. We get the win there. I think if, you see a little letdown, it's going to be a close match. So he really needs to bring his A game.
I've got MVP favored in this one. I'm giving us the win, but as you said, it's one of those I don't feel comfortable with. Graham Rooks lost to, I think, Marcus Robinson early in the year. Van Brill beat Marcus Robinson 5-2 the last time they wrestled. So to me, if you look from a head-to-head standpoint, but to me, you throw that out the window. Those things don't always translate. Rooks he's a weird cat because he's lost the guys he should beat, and he's beaten like 5 or 6 ranked guys. Okay, mm-hmm. He beat Verklerin, Omania, who we've talked about. Omania, who's more of a Greco guy, but that was a nice win for him. And he beats Yaya Thomas, who is a legitimate All-American guy. Listen, I'm going to give it to Van Brill, but this is a match. If Van Brill doesn't come in and wrestle his match, and we've talked about Matt Acumen, if he does something silly or stupid in this match, okay, this is one Graham Rooks can go ahead and steal for IU. So to me, I've got, RU winning these next 2 matchups. Like I said, Rivera's going to at least get the major against Rooks. Rooks is a tough out. 21 wins as a true freshman, but he's not in the league of Sebastian Rivera. I think Van Brill takes this match, but again, it's one of those matches, John, I just don't feel comfortable about.
Yeah, so then, moving on, same type of approach. I think Kennard, if the Rob Kennard shows up that went against Austin O'Connor, I think he gets it done. He's going against the Apple Ghost, Casper McIntosh. Casper McIntosh is a tough opponent. Again, if Kennard that wrestled Austin O'Connor shows up, I think Kennard an easy win. I think if the Kennard that went 0-2 this weekend, we might be in a little bit of trouble, right? What do you think, Eric? I'm
actually putting down a major for Kennard on this one. Indiana actually has a tough redshirt freshman in Derek Gilcher, who's a 3-time prep state champion, but I'm pretty sure he's on redshirt. He's not getting pulled, so it's probably going to be McIntosh. If Kennard takes a loss or has a tight win in this one, I think we got to start. I don't know if there's an injury or just something's happening. Okay. I don't like the way he wrestled this weekend, going 0-2 in the equipment, not Midlands, but obviously the Matmen. That didn't make me happy. But to me, I got to believe that Robbie Kennard gets back on the schneid here. I think he gets the win. I think RU takes this one, and not to jump to 165. So that's my take on Kennard. I don't want to be it's a dead horse. He just has to win this one. And I think if he's going to show he's back, I think he's got to put up a bonus point here. But again, the way Kennard's wrestling, you just don't know. So I'll give this as a major for Rutgers. And 65 and 74, okay, these are matchups. 65 is always tough because Andrew Clark, he wrestles hard every single match, okay? He's probably, He's obviously not going to be a guy who's going to make any run this year for Rutgers in the national tournament unless something changes. But to me, he's either got Matt Ortiz or Sammy Coakley. I'm not sure who's going to go for IU. But this is a matchup we could win. And I think Andrew Clark, it would be nice for him to get a Big Ten win and kind of get some momentum going into later into the season. So I would like to see Andrew Clark to come out and get a toss-up win. But again, just the way Andrew Clark's been wrestling, anything can happen. It's a Big Ten matchup. I'll give RU the win there. In 74, depending on what happens with Turley or Connor O'Neill, I think it's a toss-up win. But I think RU takes this either way. Nick South, 5-4, has a tough 6-2 loss to Matt Finesilver, one of 10 Finesilvers over in Duke. But I think these two matchups are going to be, again, they're going to be close because we're not strong here right now. And it's funny that we're not strong at 174, but I think we take 174, and 165 is a bit of a toss-up, but I think we take those as well. What do you think?
Yeah, these are Andrew Clark. We knew he was the newcomer in the lineup. This is the matches that we need him to win, right? You get in the Big Ten, and you're going up against somebody that's not one of their top guys. We need to get Andrew Clark to win this match. I hope he does it. I'm with you. I think on paper he should be able to do it. He has the talent, but these are the matches where you see as you get in the year, you want to see that win. I do think, the way Connor O'Neill showed this weekend, I think he can beat Nick South. Nick South is a decent opponent, decent year, but I'd like to see Connor O'Neill take that, or if Jackson Turley is healthy. We don't, we got a question mark. I don't think that for this match you send him out there unless he's 100%. Because the last thing you need is Jackson Turley to go out there and then give up 6 for an injury default. That's the last thing we need.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, and that's a strong point. Depending on where Turley's health is, if he's not 100%, there's no reason to wrestle versus IU. Connor O'Neill has showed you he can win those matches he needs to win. Mm-hmm. So I think he takes this. I would go with Connor O'Neill myself, but that's my 2 cents. Either way, I think we get 74. Now, the back end of the line of 74, 84, and 97, before we go to our 84, 97, and heavyweight, 84, you would think it's all Paz, and I've got Paz winning this match. I think it's going to be tighter than people would like. DJ Washington, and we know what Turley did at Washington last year when he went on his amazing run, but Washington's been on a tear since bumping up to 174. He's got pins in under 40 seconds this year, okay? I think he's undefeated. He won the Cleveland State tournament, okay? He's been on a significant role. The problem is he has not wrestled somebody of Poznansky's caliber yet this season. So to me, I think that he's going to hit a bit of a wall here in Poznansky, but he's a good enough wrestler to give Poznansky fits. It's one of those things that Paz does something. He very rarely does something stupid, but anything can happen. This isn't one of those where I'm going in and say, Paz is probably going to major him or maybe pin him, okay? Yeah. I think he takes him. I think he gets a couple of takedowns. I think he probably does something on bottom, gets a reversal. But I'm not saying this is absolute bonus points for you here. Paz is going to get the win. But to me, Washington's a tough out. What are your thoughts?
This is a guy that beat Carter Siraki last year, right? Yep. I mean, this guy was ranked in the top 5 for a good portion of last year, and for a reason. He didn't get it done in the national tournaments, ran into a buzzsaw named Jackson Turley. But yeah, this is a guy that people have high eyes on him. I think, like you said, I think Paz, until we're proved otherwise, Paz showed that he's at that next level. But this is a guy that you don't want to look past. I think Paz takes it, but again, just like my theme of this match is it's not the matchups aren't matchups that I feel good about. I think Paz any day of the week, but definitely something that Donnell Washington, DJ Washington, whatever you want to call him, he comes to party sometimes, and he can pull off the upset.
Yeah, I don't see the upset here. Like I said, I see Paz winning this, but it's not going to be a cakewalk. And we know Washington's caught some pretty darn good wrestlers. So to me, moving up to 184, Paz is a true 184 wrestler. But again, it's not if you're an RU faithful and you don't know who Washington is, don't think Paz is going to come out there and put this guy on his back, and he very well could. I mean, Paz, we know he doesn't have very many letdowns. This guy is as a seasoned, true sophomore as you're going to find out there. But again, it's not going to be a cakewalk. So going to 197, I think Balsack will probably take, just the way he's been wrestling, I'm giving him a major at worst at this one. Nick Wilhelm's a tough wrestler. He's 8-1.
Tough. Doesn't
he's got
matter.
a Cleveland State title. Former U23 All-American. So he's not necessarily some pushover. But to me, we talked about it, John. The way Balsack's wrestling right now, I just think he's on a steamroll. I think he's on a mission. It's his last year. This is a guy who's been a multiple national qualifier. I don't think he's going to have any late letdowns this year. I think he goes out there and takes it to Wilhelm. So I think Bullsack gets the win against a relatively tough opponent.
Another question here. Do you see anyone picking bottom on Bullsack for the rest of the season?
Dear God, no. There's two things you shouldn't do. Take bottom on Balsack or take top on Poznansky, okay?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't see that happening. I think the scouting report's out. That's one thing he's going to have to, that's one thing that you say. You need to, he's going to have to adjust a little bit with that because I think the scouting report's out on him now.
Yeah.
No one's going to pick bottom, and you pick bottom on him, you're getting hurt, right? So he needs to get the takedown and get on top. But he's good enough on his feet. I think he does get the takedown on some of these people. And, I agree. I think that's going to be a major. And then you got Jacob Bullock. I think, we were excited about Boone. I'm still excited about Boone. I think this weekend, Boone, good tournament, right? I think not great tournament is the scoop on Boone this weekend. I think he's somebody at that tail end, 25 to 32, I'd say, and that's what he showed this weekend. I'd like to see him start climbing and, beating some of these guys in the top 20 and the top 15. We'll see. I know Jacob Bullock, not ranked, but a tough out. Took second at the Cleveland State Open to none other than Mason Paris. It was ranked number 2. I think he's ahead of everyone. So has a tough match. I see this one as a toss-up. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I think toss-up's the way to go. I don't like the Ray Boone wrestle this weekend, and he better watch out because there's a guy named Hamilton who's coming back off the football team who probably he's not going to take the spot this year. Obviously he's in football shape, not wrestling shape. But if I'm Boone McDermott, I'm thinking about taking over this weight class for our youth the next couple of years. He's got to start showing us something, okay? Mm-hmm. And he's a kind of guy, for some reason, he can be tentative on his feet when he doesn't have to. That overtime win, I forget who was against earlier this year, where he hits a beautiful high C, okay? As deep as you'll find a heavyweight catch one, immediately gets the 2 in overtime. I want to see that Boone McDermott, okay? I don't want to see the Boone McDermott who's basically, dilly-dallying on his feet, okay, is not going aggressive, because if he doesn't go aggressive against Jacob Bullock, this is going to be one of those matches that are tight going to overtime, and I just don't like the way Boone's wrestling right now for him to go in tight, okay? Bullock, like everyone else in this lineup, he's not a stud, but he's a legitimate Big Ten wrestler, okay? He's a transfer, I think, from Old Dominion a couple of years ago. He was at one point in high school, I think, ranked in the top 10 at 220. So, he was a cadet All-American. And again, you wipe all that out when you get to college. But again, it's not some guy who doesn't have any accolades coming into the NCAA. So it's not someone Boone can sleep on. This is a match we could easily lose, okay? Mm-hmm. I think Boone should take it. But again, I don't like the way he's wrestling right now, and he hasn't showed me that he's got the aggression to that. No match is an automatic win for Boone right now. But if he wants to show that he's going to make some serious noise and he's going to be a national qualifier, he's got to take this match.
Yeah, so, just kind of the final thoughts. I think this match is going to be much closer than we think. I think Indiana's going to steal a couple. Rutgers ends up winning, I think, 6 matches somehow. Some combination is going to be my prediction. What about you, Eric?
I've got this as 21-10, but we could easily win 9 matches, okay? Mm-hmm. We could easily, like you said, lose 4 matches here, okay? Yeah. But to me, I've got 21-10, and that's conservative. I've got, obviously, Indiana winning the first 2 bouts. I've got them winning heavyweight right now, and I don't want to say that. It's just the way Boone's wrestling. I don't have any level of confidence right now. And again, anything between 57 and 74, anything can happen there. And we talked about it before. Graham Rooks at 49, that's one of those where I think you've got RU getting 6 matches. Those are the ones that we could lose.
You know what? I just thought of something. I know I got to backtrack. I know we were saying Graham Rooks, he beat Yaya Thomas. I know we said he has a shot at beating Mike Van Brill, but you know what? Miller's Rental is sponsoring this event. Shame on us. Mike Van Brill, Miller's Rental sponsor. What are we talking about? Rutgers is going to take this one. Miller's Stu Cohn's going to be there. He's going to be firing it up. I'm going Mike Van Brill with the major on Graham Rooks. I think he's going to hit that Merkel twice. I think 2-way point Merkles. I think they're giving out Miller's Mike Van Brill shirts. I'm going to be wearing one. I'm going to be sporting one. Let's do it. Miller's Mike Van Brill. We'll see you guys Friday night. Get it. Break down at the barn. Make sure you follow us on Spotify, on YouTube, anywhere you get your podcasts. We're also on all socials. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. Listen, the Mean Games are coming strong. We'll talk to you next week, guys.